good evening and welcome to Tanz im August Special Edition 2020. And welcome to the Tanz im August studio here at Haut 2. Well, today is the very last day of our 10-day special edition, and we still have a full program for you, so stay with us one more day, one more evening. Today we will meet two brilliant artists, both of who should have been in our original lineup. So too bad, maybe next time, sometime in the future. First, we meet Robin Orlin, director, choreographer, artist, originally from Johannesburg, South Africa, but I think after 20 years we should call her a true Berliner already. She will join us by phone from Geneva, where she is with her latest direction, and we will hear more about that too when we have her on the line. Then at 8:30, the very last Meet the Artist, and the last artist will be Stephanie Thiersch, choreographer from Cologne. She will join me live in the studio, which I'm very happy about. Sometimes it's pretty lonely here in the studio, so I'm happy Stephanie will join me tonight here live. We know her as a choreographer who has visited us before in Tanz im August, and she has her own company, Mouvoir, since 2000 already. And I have to say, it's quite a figure. She has, during the years, staged 50 works. And that's a number that preserves our respect, I would say. She will premiere today her film and documentary from this spring, Spectacles of Blending. And then at 10:30, there is a party. It's called It's a Wrap. Go and figure what that means, but it's the closing party of Tanz im August special edition, and it has DJ sets, and it will be played in Discord, the gaming platform and the gaming app. You can find information from our homepage, how to get in, how to register. If you didn't already register for Jamil Olavale Kosoko, now is the time to do that. We hope to meet you there. There's different rooms for meeting other audience members, which unfortunately has been not so easy this year. So welcome to the party, 10:30 at Discord. And this will be the end of the festival today. But as you know, the show will go on. And before we talk to Robin, I would like to remind you that the other Berlin Dance Festival, Tanznacht, will begin on 9th of September at the Ufer Studios. And as we heard yesterday from the artistic director, Jacobo, it is done with care and safety rules, and you should really go and meet the local artists there between 9th and 13th of September at the Ufer Studios. While we are here at Haut 2, people are rehearsing downstairs. So Haut 2 will open in a couple of weeks, 19th of September with Shishi Pop, with the wonderful title, Hexploitation. This will be a premiere, and it will also be, people with, audience will be seated again, according to all the latest rules. How 1 will also open. It will have a big opening on 23rd of September with the program, which is called Radical Mutation on the Ruins of Raising Sons. And it's curated by 4 curators. And excuse me if my pronunciation is not right. I apologize already beforehand. It's curated by Nathalie Anguetsoma, Mba Pikoro, Saskia Göpschal, and Mnit Zere. How 1 will also have a brand new interior design, which is done by the students from the local art school. And this will be, of course, done with the thought and all the rules of distancing and safety measures. It will all be in place when you come there on 23rd of September. So it's not finished before it's finished. So then we should really continue. And now we should talk a little bit about Robin Orlin. Robin really is an artist who has lived in Berlin already 20 years. She's an award-winning artist and a choreographer who also directs theater and opera. In her works, really, theatricality meets irony in a wonderful way, as those who were in Tanz im August to see Oh Louise can remember. She is currently in Geneva, where she's touring with Jeanette's The Maids, which premiered at the Festival d'Automne 2019 in Paris. She has sent us a little teaser. So we will look at this teaser first, and then she will connect to us by phone.
So the title of my new piece is We Wear Our Wheels with Pride and Slap Your Streets with Color. We said bonjour to Satan in 1800. This is a piece about the rickshaw drivers, this is an image, who were Zulu men who transported colonialists in South Africa at the beginning of the 20th century. They were cheap labor, basically slaves, but instead of being invisible victims of slavery, they transformed and subverted their status into mysterious and beautiful unsung heroes. Together with dancers from the moving into dance in South Africa, and I'm just going to create that represents an MID dancer because I'm in lockdown. We will, in real time, create a monument to these unsung heroes. This is the headdress of a Zulu married woman, which she wears when she goes out, and it's a sign of respect. So I think it's I can work with that image for my montage, for my real-time montage. So together with the dancers, we will recreate some beauty, not forgetting where these men came from and the reason of why they were doing what they did. And we will create in real time a monument to these unsung heroes. Voila. So join us in this celebration.
Hello, Robin. How are you
Hi.
tonight?
I'm okay. Sorry, I'm not there in person.
Well,
but I'm fine.
And thank you for that little postcard, almost like a little, not only a teaser, but a little hint of what we were missing this year. But as I have heard, you have kept on working with the dancers in distance. Am I right?
Yeah. I meet with them once a week on Zoom. Mm-hmm. We talk about the piece, and I throw a lot of problem solving to them. They send me stuff that they make, and I look at the stuff during the week, and then we meet again the following week, and it's just like an ongoing process. A little bit how I work, but not ideally how I work. And slowly we will find our voice with this topic and see where we want to go.
Are the dancers in isolation? Is there a lockdown at the moment in Joburg, or are they?
Well,
Can they gather?
yeah,
Or?
no. It's very trying. It's really very trying. Some of the dancers went back home to the rural areas. So to get Wi-Fi in the rural areas is very difficult. There've been a lot of challenges. The lockdown has been lifted, but not completely. So the dancers are not really back in the studio. So I'm really working we're working one-on-one, I guess, which is not really what I'm used to. Sort of one-on-one, but together. Oh. I guess that's what Zoom is.
Yeah.
Without oxygen. It's I felt that during this period it was very important to engage the dancers with the topic and to keep them feeling a little bit positive, because I think everybody is really struggling. A lot of people have died in South Africa. We have the threat of tuberculosis as well as the virus. It was winter. There was no ways I was going to be able to get on an airplane and go and work with them during this period. And I still can't go. So I'm waiting patiently. It's they're fantastic. They created all these costumes and objects and problem solving with what they could find at home, which is it's pretty much how I work in the beginning before I start putting in an aesthetic that has evolved during the process.
Yeah, I think we have some images which are inspiring you and the process, and some of them, I guess, are of the dancers. Can we see some of the pictures that we got from you? Do you want to tell us a little bit about the pictures? There's a woman with a carriage on the street pulling a carriage.
Oh, okay. So, the rickshaw riders were. It's something that happened a long time ago. It doesn't happen anymore. And I was asking the dancers, what do we see that is similar now in the streets of Johannesburg, of main cities in South Africa? And what you do see is people who, folk who can't find work. And what they do is they collect either plastic or paper in bulk. They literally go from garbage bin to garbage bin, and they work with a similar trolley effect. And they either push or they pull these piles through the cities of Johannesburg. And to a large extent, this is the new rickshaw.
Right.
But really without any glamour. The rickshaw riders historically were so beautifully dressed, and they had competitions that they created themselves. Nobody asked them to create these competitions. And there really was a pride about identity. And now you really don't see that anymore. You just see a kind of a desperation. And I suppose if I delve even further, I guess the most elegant rickshaw driver in South Africa is probably an Ubu rider, driver, which there are very many. Ubu is very popular.
Yes.
To find a driver that will drive you places.
Right. But we have more pictures. Now we have a picture, I think it's one of the dancers in a red skirt and a tire around her his shoulder and
Yes.
some masks. So these were the kind
Yeah.
of things, the tasks that you gave the dancers to work on in the
Yeah.
privacy of their home.
Yeah, I mean, I really started working very literally. We started working very literally together. I gave them the title and I asked them to impersonate the title. And it was quite interesting. You know, tires in South Africa historically, politically, have a very it's, you know, they call it in the time of apartheid. There was lots of necklacing, and what a necklacing was they put petrol on a tire from a car, and then they threw it over the head of somebody and lit a match.
Right.
And I mean, it's a terrible death.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
it
my God.
happened a lot in the time of apartheid.
Right.
In the time of the struggles. So I found it quite interesting how the younger generation didn't have that that memory because they were too young.
Right.
Yeah, I find the contributions from the performers just so generous and quite naive, and I find it quite refreshing.
Right, because this work is based on your own memories from the time that you were a child in South Africa.
Yeah. I think that when I saw the rickshaws when I was a child, they already had become very popular and used as a tourist attraction, and that's not the way it started. You know, it was really, they were transport. They were given the Zulu name horse, to be a horse. I mean, they were slaves. They really were slaves. And my memory is something completely different. But I've looked at footage and seen things. My memory is these beautiful images coming down the street in Durban by the beachfront with these colorful angels literally flying in the air. I learned very quickly from my mother what the real rickshaw riders, where they came from and what they are now. I mean, one can still celebrate what they are now because there aren't that many anymore, but it's still very beautiful. But it leaves a bitter taste. You know, it's a kind of a hidden beauty, dirty history saga.
And you said the younger generation are they aware of this history, or do you go through this history together? Because I know you made a lot of research before you started this investigation.
Yeah. I think it depends. It depends what tribe they're from. I mean, most of the Zulu dancers in the company completely clicked into it, and they knew about it, but hadn't thought about it for a long time. And the other dancers very quickly understood where we were going, did their research, you know, understood why it's important to look at stuff like this now. I mean, I have no idea where the piece is going. I'll only know that when we really can sort of touch one another and breathe together.
Yeah, that might take some time. But you are now touring, which is exceptional in these times. You are in.
Well, it's not only exceptional; it's surreal. It's.
Yes.
I mean, I came by plane from Berlin to Geneva. The airport is empty. Everybody has masks on. Everybody's standing far away from each other. I felt like I was in some kind of a dream. It was very strange. And I got to Geneva airport, and everybody in the airport in Geneva was wearing masks. The minute you get out of the airport, nobody's wearing masks. and it's not a law here to wear masks. You have to social distance and wash your hands, and that's the only law. You know, that's, I mean, how do you keep, how do you watch people all the time doing that? So it's quite, I'm a bit confused.
I think we all are, to say the least.
Yeah, exactly. But I do, my actors are working, they do the piece with a visor, which is very trying if you've got microphones, but so far so good, it's working. The audience is, I mean, they're very respectful. Only a certain amount of people are allowed in the theater. Everything is spaced out. They are told that they don't have to wear masks, but most of the people are wearing masks. I even, have a section where the performer goes into the audience. I made sure that, that the route that he took, there were no people near him. It's all very strange. It's not an easy, it's really not an easy way to work. And I'm starting a new piece now with a singer from France, Camille, which will end the festival here. And it's a singing piece and a theatrical piece about where we went wrong, because we certainly did go wrong. It's difficult working. I can't stand very close to her. We keep on washing our hands. We're both wearing masks. For Camille, it's very difficult to wear a mask because she's singing. It's impossible to sing.
It's hard to imagine how you sing with a mask.
She's not. And I just stay distant to her, and there will definitely be a distance with the audience, and she'll be the only person on stage.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really difficult, and it's I'm in I feel like I'm in a state of mourning. I feel that I'm mourning the loss of what was, and of what we took for granted.
Exactly.
I think even freedom we've taken for granted. To be able to just run downstairs and go to the supermarket and buy a bag of apples. It's everything is and people are dying. This is the thing that we can't forget about, and it's hard.
No.
I'm finding it really, really hard.
It's hard, and
I think everybody's trying to do the best they can, and there's really no room for criticism towards anyone. I mean, because I think everybody, for those that are trying, there's a group that aren't trying, but for those that are trying to respect humankind, we're doing the best we can.
No, I think it's
and we're not
it's about time to accept this as something that we live with for some time, and I know the practices of like staging now are going to be harder, and it sets new standards for our work. But I guess also at the same time, we are finding new ways. I have to say 10 days here talking to people has made me believe that we can reach out for people this way. We can actually do things that we could not maybe do if we were not pushed to investigate this way of being relevant. I mean, how do we keep being relevant without our core business, which is performances? How can we keep on doing something that works toward the future, and hopefully that future means that we can come back on stage. sooner or later, for sure. But meanwhile, I think there is possibilities, and I'm really interested. It was very interesting to hear that how you keep on working with your artist over this distance, with the isolation rules here and there, and they are different. We know, we have learned during these 10 days, as we have talked to people pretty much from all over the world, that there is very different rules. The situation is extremely different in Brazil, in South Africa, in Manila.
Yeah.
I mean, we can talk about it. It's not the same situation, and that calls for even more being in contact with people to understand that, we are all hit by the same virus, but we are in very, very different situations.
Different situation.
And the circumstances are so varied that it's really important to keep on talking and keep on contacting and keep on working together also towards that future. So I'm very happy to hear that the work with the incredibly long name that I cannot say without reading it from the paper, so I won't.
You know what? Me neither. I'm getting too old. I don't remember my titles anymore.
Maybe then it's time to shorten them a little bit. Just a little hint.
Okay.
They are lovely poetic names. We do love them dearly. So we just keep on reading, you and me. You know, we are not getting any younger, so. This is
exactly.
It. So thank you so much for joining us. I know this is in the middle of other things that you are there in Geneva, but thank you for joining us, and thanks for the little
it's lovely. It's lovely to talk to you.
Yeah, it was so nice. Wish I could have seen you, but I see you in Berlin one day.
Absolutely. I'll be back soon.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you, Verva.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
And we take about 2-minute break now. And then we will come back with the very last Meet the Artist with Stephanie Thiersch here on the sofa with me. So welcome, Stephanie. Welcome to our studio, the very last Meet the Artist.
Thank you very much. I'm so happy to be here and to see you live in color and presence. And
I know we are holding our distance.
We do.
But we are here together, which is really a joy, I have to say.
Yeah, me too.
And we are here today to discuss in general. We have plenty of time today to talk, which is good. We are good at talking, I know that. So I don't think we will fall out of topics to discuss. But let's start with the film, because we kind of have a premiere tonight. One could say a premiere. It's a premiere of Spectacles of Blending, a short film that you have done during the spring, basically.
Exactly. We were together with composer Brigitta Muntendorf. I was preparing a huge project originally for Ruhr Triennale. And after Ruhr Triennale got cancelled, we still had a huge structure. I will tell later a little bit more about it, in the process of building. So in July, this architecture was ready, was done, was finished to be built. And Brigitta and me, we went there with the architects and to give it the final go and the final yes. And we used this little moment also to experiment with some musicians and dancers on the structure. A very precious, in those times, a very, very precious moment. And we decided to get accompanied by a camera and a sound lady. So, that was the base of the film.
You are kind of opening your process from this spring, which was hard on you. We had to cancel, which was really heartbreaking. We worked so hard.
Absolutely.
To be able to realize this huge. How many people?
It is 53 people on stage. So, I mean, we struggled a lot to make this happen. And the big lament or the big sadness, of course, came because it's not so easy. And I appreciated a lot that you had the courage to go with me that way. And so this film is a little bit a reflection about from the process of Bilderschlachten to Archipel, which was supposed to be the new piece, and the actual moment of where we are in this hanging in the air process. And
Would you like us to look at the film now?
Yes.
Let's do that.
Okay.
Stop!
Bei Bilderschlachten bin ich erstmal von der Aktualität ausgegangen, von der Situation, in der wir im Moment leben und wollte schauen, was brauchen wir, um bestimmte Prinzipien loszuwerden in unserer jetzigen Gesellschaft und habe das dann versucht in 3 Akten aufzuziehen, in einem Urzustand und dann in einem sehr krassen Mittelteil, sehr bunten Mittelteil, wo wir im Grunde das Aufgeblähtsein, das Übertriebene, das Schrille auch unserer Gesellschaft, das Bestimmende, das in starken Hierarchien denkt, das von patriarchalen Systemen geprägt ist, das darzustellen, um dann im Grunde im letzten Teil so einen Lösungsprozess zu etablieren, der in einer großen Trauer endet, in einer riesigen Prozession, die sozusagen diesen Systemen abdankt. Und die Frage ist natürlich, wenn man danach weitermachen will, man hat sozusagen das Lamento gesungen, das Lamento auf die Gesellschaft, in der wir leben. Was kann danach kommen? Und was Brigitta und ich in Archipel machen wollen, ist eine Art Utopie kreieren, einen Planeten, einen Raum, den es noch zu erfinden gibt, aber in dem andere Dinge passieren können, in einem anderen Licht, in einem anderen Zusammensein. Was mich die ganze Zeit bei dem Gedanken trägt, ist der Name Archipel, weil wir befinden uns hier in einer Insellandschaft. Auch wir sind insulare Körper in einer bestimmten Art und Weise, aber gleichzeitig meint Archipel immer ein Voraussetzen anderer Archipele oder anderer Einheiten, mit denen wir kommunizieren.
Welcome. Thank you so much.
Ja, ich bin Brigitta Muntendorf, ich bin Komponistin und habe zusammen mit Stephanie Thiersch dieses Projekt Archipel eigentlich ins Leben gerufen.
So, hier sind unsere beiden, genau, ich stelle kurz vor, das sind unsere beiden Schlagzeugerinnen.
Was vielleicht noch wirklich sehr spannend ist, ist an dieser Skulptur, dass ja Instrumente eingebaut worden sind von dem Thomas Meixner, also einem Instrumentenbauer. Und das sind eigentlich lauter Instrumente, die erstmal so gar nicht existieren oder die umfunktioniert werden.
Yeah, it's about appropriation. It's about how we, start to deal with it and bring it alive.
Can we hang from the structure?
Yes.
Like the...
Yeah, in this part here in the middle, all what is steel here, all this, it's super, it's super stable. Camille, that's somehow nice. There's something to do with this, the in-betweens, actually. And then what triggers you a lot, of course, is the hanging stuff, no? All the, use the momentum all the time to bring you in another space. That's cool. Die Theorien Donna Haraways beschäftigen mich schon relativ lange. Auch für Bilderschlachten war das ein ganz wichtiges Thema. Und zwar ganz besonders ihre These Make kin, not babies, die erstmal so ein bisschen provokant daherkommt, aber eigentlich meint, dass man in neue Verwandtschaftsbeziehungen zueinander treten soll. Für den Tanz im Speziellen bedeutet das, dass wir versuchen, in Gefügen zu arbeiten, in Gefügen unserer Ideen, unserer Körper, aber auch ganz stark im Verbund mit dem Raum und in dem Falle jetzt hier mit der Architektur, dass wir die Architektur als etwas begreifen, sozusagen ein Player, ein Mitspieler oder eine mit uns verwandte organische Materie, mit der wir versuchen, anders umgehen zu lernen. The way you apprehend it, and you did now really beautifully, you know, that to actually extend it in its shape and it's not an opposition to your body.
With Archipel, I feel like it's not about showing, it's about being. And the set is also one of the performers, I feel. And there is no hierarchy, like in between us and the set. We have to adapt to the set as much as I feel like the set adapts to us.
Wichtig ist, denke ich, in so einer Zusammenarbeit, dass wir alles das, was Hierarchie etablieren könnte, vergessen oder nicht zum Vorschein bringen lassen, beziehungsweise gar nicht erst erstehen lassen, sondern uns auf einem sehr gleichberechtigten Feld miteinander bewegen.
I think that's a symbol also of where we are, how we are as a group, and throughout these years, what we are getting to as a community of friends, people, artists.
Dieses Archipel wird von allen bespielt, also auch von den Tänzerinnen. Wir holen eigentlich alle Klänge da raus. Also wir haben bis zu 20 Mikrofone, die wir überall hier implementieren, die zum Teil einfach verstärken. Das heißt, wir können die leisesten Geräusche auf dieser Platte plötzlich sehr laut hören. Diese Insel kann dadurch eigentlich ihre Bedeutung komplett verändern. Also sie kann etwas sehr Animalisches haben, sie kann etwas sehr Menschliches haben, sie kann aber auch, wenn wir das möchten, einen Techno-Track quasi abbilden.
In meiner Arbeit spielt Interdisziplinarität schon immer eine ganz wichtige Rolle. Die letzten Jahre beschäftige ich mich ganz viel mit Musik. Die Begegnung mit Brigitta Muntendorf spielt in dem Zusammenhang eine ganz besondere Rolle.
Ja.
Unser Ziel ist es in unserer Zusammenarbeit, gemeinsame Scores, gemeinsame Partituren zu schreiben. Das heißt, wir bringen nicht ab einem gewissen Punkt Partitur und Choreografie zusammen, sondern sie entstehen in einem gemeinsamen Prozess. Und das ist für mich in meiner Arbeit, stellt das was relativ Neues dar und für Brigitta auch. Also wir bewegen uns da in Neuland.
Das ist super schwer, aber Sie machen es gut. Okay. Thank you.
Everything is working together as a symbiosis, as one breathing, moving environment.
Diese Vorstellung davon, dass man etwas rausruft und es gibt ein Echo und eine Resonanz aus anderen Räumen heraus, die finde ich für diese Arbeit sehr spannend. Und was in dieser Woche passiert ist, gerade mit der Architektur, war ganz spannend, weil sie, obwohl sie gleich bleibt, eine stetige Transformation durchmacht in der Art und Weise, wie wir mit ihr umgehen. Mal erscheint sie klein, mal riesengroß, mal vibriert sie, mal bedeutet sie eine Gefahr, mal wird sie ein Zuhause, mal ist sie Nische, mal spuckt sie uns aus. Und diese Transformation, die auch wir ja versuchen darzustellen oder die wir versuchen zu leben und in unsere Körper zu bekommen, dass die eine erstmal gedacht stabile, statische Struktur das von sich aus hergibt, fand ich sehr aufregend.
Wow. It's almost painful to see it, but not really, because it has some fantastic images of the things that are not going away. They will stay with you, like the architecture of the archipelago. That's just fascinating to see. How did you meet the architect? Where did that idea come from?
So the architect is Japanese architect Tsu Fujimoto, and Brigitta and me, we were researching a little bit, and actually in Cologne there is a park of sculptures, and we realized that both of us, our favorite sculpture is the one of Tsu Fujimoto, which is a white house without roofs, without windows, where inside and outside go, like melt into each other. And then Brigitta was in residency in Kyoto, and we decided to just go for it and to approach him, and why not be researching in the internet. And we thought it's just absolutely amazing, very organic forms, a beautiful play with light, and a very strong perception of how we should live in relation to nature, and like building around a tree. He has, for example, balconies where you communicate. It's really made for that neighbors communicate with each other. So it kind of fitted our idea, our concept so much. And we kept then on, not struggling, but we kept on going and trying to reach him. And then in the end, it happened, and he was really excited. It's his first time he's working for theater and dance. And we met, he has an office in Paris. So from then, we're talking about a process that is 4 years now. So we met him, we discussed, we have the first drafts of his, and until now it was a long way.
Yeah. It's a beautiful structure. It almost looks like a choral or something. That it's really kind of like looks like the forms come from the nature, but then they are given this ultra modernist outlook at the same time, which is very easy for you to come in and start. You know.
That's his strength also. I mean, to create things that are stable and light at the same time, that disappear and appear at the same time. So there's a lot of idea of contrast, which we both find very inspiring. And in the beginning of our thoughts, because Brigitta and me, we work quite a while together right now, and we wanted to go a step further and think about we bring dancers and music on stage together, but what if we go one step further, and what if the stage is the instrument is the stage, so we kind of make it very consequent, our collaboration. And Brigitta invited someone, Thomas Meixner, who is inventing instruments. And he, we saw, maybe you saw in the film, those meshes, we call them meshes, these kind of roofs in the sculpture. And 8 or 10 of them, I don't remember, are instruments actually. So, and they make beautiful sounds, and like she demonstrated really well in the film. Also, she puts a lot of microphones. She implements them everywhere, so we can really play on this structure.
Wow! And how does the choreography then work? In like when you come in and you start. We could see on the film that you started improvising, and then there was very set parts also already.
Yeah. I mean, the moment you saw it was really, it was really our playground, and we really tried to understand how to move there. And I'm so grateful I can have this moment also before, because it was a bit different than, of course, in my theories and in my head. But I think what we would like to do is working very strongly with mechanisms that we find in nature, like echoes of nature, like, for example, lichens, or like how you overgrow and how you change the support that actually supports you. So to take this sculpture as something that is not you don't only step on it, but you extend it, you modulate it, and you integrate it in your choreographic thinking. So we passed the first moments really about understanding. And I think what is interesting me at the moment on top of this is like, how do we create new ways of communication again, where we maybe not touch too strongly, but where like echoes, resonances, dialogues over distance, we can play with this. And funnily enough, this sculpture with these levels has this kind of really tricky communication inside, because when you're hidden in one you go through the sound, suddenly you go less visually. So yeah, I think in the end we're at the moment really interested to invent nearly a telepathic dance communication or language.
It looked so round. I was wondering if what was originally meant to be looked at in the theater as frontal, or it was the audience thought that the audience can go around it, because it looked so inviting to be able to look at it from many different angles.
Yeah, that's the idea. I mean, these big halls that everything was meant for, of Ruhrtriennale, we wanted the audience really to, it's in between an installation and a performance. So we wanted really the audience to walk around and choose their, point of perspective, meaning also that you have to play with the on and the off, that there is always something happening that is not, you maybe miss out. And I find this principle really interesting, missing things also, that you're not have everything presented here, but there's things that, happen underneath or outside your field of vision. So, and then you can sit down, you can walk, you can go up and also watch the sculpture from up, which is actually one of my favorite perspectives on it. It's really beautiful with these organic shapes. Island. Island.
And did you pack this island now and you put it in a storage?
It's in a container.
But you will take it out.
It's in a container, and it looks really. We are very confident that the big festival in Düsseldorf next year, everything it looks really good. So we are really happy. Stephanie Karp worked hard on getting in contact with other programmers, and one of great festival is inviting us.
That's lovely.
Yeah.
Because you can see how much work, and there's so much already there. You know, it's not like it was in the process in the beginning, like we heard Robin today, who is still, they are still in the earlier parts of the process with the dancers.
Yeah.
You were, 4 years time to figure how to do this. So it's really, really great if it can come back.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
And
it's
we need
such a
that.
long process, like 4 years. It's just like such a long deal, long way to go. And then the moment Ruhr Triennale was cancelled, it was just like, you suddenly, you're swimming and suddenly you sit on a dry earth. And now I think the tricky part is how to keep the momentum and the dynamic for the idea. So
I think we are all like struggling with that. How to keep on going, how to do something, not even always knowing like our whole festival. Just keep on doing something. Even in like you can go wrong and you have to rethink and all the time rethink. But I mean, that's not only a bad process, I think, in the end. But I mean, this spring of like fun festival falling after another, like a domino effect, was pretty hard. And we were discussing a lot during that time because it was really, it's like never before. I mean, one didn't know where we would go, what we would do, and how. And that it's so wonderful to hear and tell our audience, and let our audiences know that, okay, it's not just one festival, it's 4 years of work.
Exactly.
And this is why we invited artists to put these things forward towards our audience, even if we cannot do live performances, because it's not visible. I don't think people understand how much work goes into these processes or how many people are involved in them. I saw this list on, I think in a Facebook, what are the different titles in one theater performance? And like nearly probably 100 titles. Everybody from the box office to the cleaning and to the dresses, and how many people are creating our sector and the work we do, and it's not always understood. And I think now it's a good time to make it visible when people are missing us, that they know what it is all about.
And I like also that what you did, or what you and your team proposed. Actually, it helps visibility. It helps. Keeping up, even, just diving into a little filmmaking. It's just a little glimpse, but it keeps, we're diving into, we're thinking about what to, we're doing interviews, we're editing. So there is a little, step forward all the time. So it's a pleasure, actually, and it's helpful. It's more than a pleasure, it's actually helpful.
How do you think we can keep on doing, like, what, if our idea was that we are adding value into the process. So we are not extracting value from the artistic production, but we are actually adding something into it. Of course, our hope at that point was that you would tour in the fall. The idea was that we will just work with artists through this curve, and then on fall they will go on tour, and we go back to business as usual, which did not happen. So now we have to recharge ourselves and gear up again and come up with new ideas. And what would you need, and what would you ask us to do together
Yeah.
towards the future.
I think like from day to day this changes also, this feeling about what we need or what is needed. I mean, in the beginning I felt very much like we need some money to bridge these periods. We need to help those, I mean, in my field, especially the dancers that are closest to precarity. So just to bridge a very defined period of time. Now it feels very different. It feels like this, in the beginning for me, defined period of time, I cannot grasp it anymore. So to keep up a momentum, to keep our like artistic ideas floating, I think that's now my preoccupation. Also to be able to invite people like I did before to do this together in a community, in a collective with me. At the moment, I'm happy if we have small formats that keeps, that keep a research going. We will, go a little bit into filming with Brigitta. We through live streaming, and we will talk to a choir in Oslo and try to do something. It's all new experiences, which for now I even cannot tell, where it takes us. If it takes us to an interesting place, or if it takes us even to more sadness, because we realize so much what we could have done and what we do now. But yeah, I think we have to communicate and we have to show solidarity, and be inventive with how we meet and how we discuss. So formats like you do right now, again, I find it really helpful. I'm not a big fan, honestly, when I'm invited to do an online choreography or online, this is for me really tricky to talk and to go into another medium. I'm curious to experiment with this, but to transpose what is there into an online format, at the moment I feel this is not right.
I think we are all going through this kind of knowing it's difficult times, and we have difficult feelings to deal with, and pretty much everybody is in the same situation and trying to figure out what to do and how to go forward. And at the same time, many people are calling to, let's now slow down. Let's rethink totally what we're doing. Let's look at the terms in which we are working, who we're working with, who is missing, who's here. So I think it is also an opportunity, at least for the curators, to rethink their practices.
Yes.
And I think whether we want it or not, we are kind of pushed into it, and it's not all bad. I mean, even we do reflect our practices all the time. That's continuous work in a way, but this time we were really cornered. If like your toys were taken away from you, like a child without the toys, and you're like, you have your temper first, like, I want my toys back. I don't get it. And then you have to just start thinking, okay, so how do the pen turns into a toy? How do everything turns into something that keeps on dance, and in our case, dance and art relevant and visible, that it's not pushed into a corner.
Yeah, my feeling in the beginning was very much like when lockdown came and things got cancelled step by step, more and more. I didn't feel a stress. I felt more like okay, then shut up and think. And for me, it's like really like as a state of also sadness, I have to say. I mean, you have your path, and then you see also your colleagues, and I did work a lot with African artists, and you see them like they of course, much more stuck than I am. I'm still in a privileged situation. I will not starve from anything tomorrow. I just need to bridge. And still, you know, this is your passion. This is what you want to do. And this makes your identity also part. So, you know, we can wait and wait and wait, but we need to know, you know, I would love to know when we can explode again.
And go
and
back.
In the meantime, I don't feel like overproducing or pushing too much visibility. I think we need to be visible. We need to, say on what we are working, and then be ready for the moment. We can do theater, because I very much believe into theater. You know, there is a big call, of course, how much can we digitalize our work, how much new formats can we develop. This is all fine, but it will never, ever replace the strength of theater and the personal encounter, the same air we're breathing and what we're sharing when we are in one room together.
That sadness, it was really real today when I walked into Ligna's last performance, Dissemination Everywhere, when you are in this studio day after day, and then you walk into an open space with the sky and the sun, and you see all these people there, and you just are struck by this feeling of how important it is to assembly and to come together, which is not so clear, meanwhile we're taking it for granted, but it is actually now when it's taken away, it's really highlighting what is our strength also as a theater. I love and hate theater, of course, like we all do probably, but what the core of it, the coming together, is so embedded into our European culture also in terms of our democratic means and everything. Like it's part of how we are, who we are, that we assemble this way to address the most important issues and to have a place to gather and to be together, and in some kind of a safety also.
Exactly. It's a social moment, you know. It's an important social moment. And then we can always go on discussing, you know, where should theater take place? Should it be in these kind of theaters? Should it be more open? Should it be more on the street?
Doesn't matter.
Yes, I mean, this is all, you know, we need to renovate ourselves constantly and rethink also, you know. But to not have it at all
You are also always very active on the policy level and talking to politicians and really advocating for dance, especially in Köln and in Düsseldorf, around in North Rhine-Westphalia. How is it now? Are you pushing some agenda with the politicians? Because I think they are as lost sometimes as we are, like what and how to go forward.
Yeah, I mean, not more than I did. I mean, but I think it's a continuous work, and I felt that in our region, but all over, also in Germany, I felt that there was maybe, you know, after the first shock was lived through, there was a listening, and Germany has quite a few helps already for artists. We need to be in a very close dialogue and see, you know, who gets them, maybe who is expelled, thinking about people that maybe don't speak well German, that are not really good in finding the papers and filling application forms. All this has to be reconsidered, and I mean, it's a work that we have to do, all of us, and not only the politicians. I think we professionals of dance and theater, we have to be also very alert and aware who might drop out of the system right now, and help and call those people in, and also tell it to the politicians. So I try to do that.
That was very interesting last night when we talked to Brazilian artists, and we asked them like how do they deal deal with these issues, and they were asking for us, when we asked them what should we do, they were saying like you should really look after the most vulnerable ones, which from our viewpoint, the whole culture sector and art sector in Brazil is very vulnerable and in a very hard situation now. And still they were calling out, but please look at the most vulnerable ones of us too when you reach out.
Which is totally true and relevant, you know. I mean, we're still talking about, European perspective. And we shouldn't forget, and we mustn't forget people that also need the networks and need the continuous communication. Like in moments of crisis, of course, this is this typical phenomenon that we kind of sometimes shut down to the, to our environs, and we're so busy suddenly with going on ourselves that we lose the wider perspective of things. And this is people in other parts of the world. And of course, we were talking so much about nature, climate. This is our biggest issue, I think, as human beings right now, and this was kind of disappeared from the agenda. So,
yeah, I mean, it's not only this pandemic. We have a list of topics to deal with, which we've been dealing with them for quite a while. But I think this was also a good moment to really turn our gaze into new directions with the solid kind of like intention to reach out for new kind of questions so that we get new kind of answers.
yeah,
Instead of always our questions and then getting
yeah.
the answers that we could kind of expect. So, but it's really a time to turn the table in so many ways, which I find interesting. And I try to keep everybody be a little bit excited about it, because I know how hard it is just for all of us. But at the same time, it's like these opportunities that come with our talking here. I don't know who is online, but when we were in webinar, we could see that we had people from Uganda, or like from all over the world, people were tapping in, which means it's globally accessible. Of course, there's limitations because not everybody has access to internet, but it's way bigger than what we would have if we would sit, you and me, here on the sofa in our normal festival, which is where we actually are. Here we would sit like this, and we would have something between 20 and 50 people here to share your thoughts. And this time we can reach out for much bigger audiences, which I feel, and audiences that could not come here, audiences which are isolated to begin with, like we heard from our disabled artist talk, like who already are experiencing these difficulties that we are now experiencing almost globally.
Yeah. Is there any like strategies inside, the world of programmers, or that you feel like that maybe come up in this summer when you talk to your colleagues that have similar problems? They cannot do their festivals. They try to, is there, like when you talk in between you, is there something that you say, yeah, this is what we want to change in the future? We want to approach differently the touring or whatever. I mean,
yes. I mean, I think there was big coming together during this time. Tanz im August we have initiated a dance festival network. So we kept in touch with those 13 festivals during this time, sometimes talking to each other, what is, just to check on each other pretty much. But then we worked really hands-on with the summer festivals, which also kind of came out of collaboration between partners like Kampnagel and Zürich Theaterspektakel, and then more people joined that. And in the end, we were 15 festivals really working together to understand where we are and how we can go forward and how we can support the artist. And I think this is very interesting, because it was important that the standards for things were discussed on this level. because there was social pressure also we want to solve, first of all, what happens when the festivals are cancelled. So how are you doing it? What are we doing? So that we as a collective can also put the pressure on our politicians, and like that we can say, well, look, they are doing like this. We need to do like to find some kind of a fair way of dealing with the situation, first of all. Secondly, I think what happened was that it felt less competitive. Because of course, like in any other sector, people are ambitious and they have their own profiles. We all have our own profiles as curators or directors. And sometimes you just work with your own concepts and own ideas. I think there was much more sharing ideas, which were not about sharing of our ideas, but sharing the ideas of the artist. And this was important. It was like, okay, I have an artist here, and she cannot come to tour. How do we support her? And then we could assemble a collective here which could do that. This has its dangers, I understand. I mean, it's not something to be taken lightly, and I think we all are aware of that. But at the same time, this less competitiveness is something that I would think is really, the whole sector would benefit out of it. And in terms of exactly like that we are not consuming all the time artists and works and consuming and asking premieres every year, premiere. These kind of pressures that have been building up when the festival sector has bloated. It's huge. The festival sector in Europe is really, really big, and it's big economical sector impact, too. Yeah. It has a big economical, so it's not a question to be taken lightly. But at the same time, this kind of like at least talking about these tragedies together with festivals and trying to arrive somewhere together in terms of like the fairness of our trade, the sharing of especially how to have a solidarity plan when it comes to those most vulnerable, how to gap between the festivals, what happens from now until next August. So there's a lot of questions that we can share together. So, but the best strategy is to keep on talking. I think it's so simple that the talk comes first, and then comes the actions.
And I think, you have concepts in theory, and then, sometimes in the practice, when the outside set changes, it also gives you a new perspective. Like, for example, we have this funding for this program is called Be Our Guest. It's about Gastgeberschaft, hospitality, and it's about inviting people. I do this for 3 years now, but now in this period, it got a totally different, I mean, not different, totally different, but it got a little bit of a shift also, more in the sense of, yes, we really, it's not only about inviting, but it's really very much about taking care, very much about listening, and about seeing where are we, and are we all there? And, what can we do, the ones that are a little bit maybe stronger or more established, and, how can we help each other and support each other? And for me, that, I'm still not there where I want to be, but just to really most sincerely think it through and finding new strategies for this. I find it important right now.
I think the artistic imagination will be the key also, because we need to. It's not only the curators and the festivals and the venues and the production houses that need to somehow reimagine what they do. The key thing for all of this, I think, is artistic imagination. It was after we canceled the festival, we called all the artists and we talked and we cried and we talked and we called again and we had this dialogue. And this time everything was so fast, but I'm starting to understand that, okay, this is just the beginning, because we really need to think about practices. If next summer there is no going into the theaters as we are used to, how do we then, what can we do? And what can we do that we are not serving a small elite? which is, of course, you can always limit your audiences, and you will get those who can take the risk of coming and those who are healthy. But like Tanz im August became, I hope, such a festival for everyone. And how do we hold on to that, which is so dear to us, that we know dance sometimes is considered as an art form, or contemporary dance, that it doesn't, it's like it's a marginal and it doesn't have such a big audience, but it does, that's not true. It does have an audience. We just have to find the audience, and we have to work towards that audience and with the audience. So this is maybe our next challenge, is to start thinking like, okay, how do we hook up with the audience again? Because they are also our best partner. They are our best defender if the times get tough. So we need to find a way to do strategies, not to do by between the artists and the organizers, but also together with the audience somehow. And good ideas are welcome. We should do that for sure.
We stick on it.
Well, thank you so much for coming here. I want to still show your book. I think there's a camera somewhere. You can at least see that it's a beautiful color. There's a book that you have published.
Exactly, yeah. So this is also a way of, giving what you do on stage, giving it another, another form somehow.
It's beautiful images. You can see it. It's a little bit small, but you can see it has wonderful images.
And it was because this performance, Bilderschlachten, that we, like the title already says, it plays a lot and questions a lot the overblown up and vulgar images of our society. So it was nice to kind of pack the idea of the stage and to find a strategy and to find a way to make something else out of it.
Lovely.
And there is beautiful texts of people that worked on the piece and people that looked at the piece. So
it's a little gem. So thank you for this, and thanks for coming. It's a little late in the evening. Thanks for sharing your thoughts and
it's a pleasure,
and your feelings, our common feelings. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So, I think we are about coming to an end of this festival. So, Tanz im August 2020. It's about to end in few minutes. And I just want to say a few words before we wrap up. And the wrap up is the party. So bear with me for a few minutes. I would just like to thank all the people who contributed to this special edition. This festival was made possible by so many people: artists, producers, managers, curators, directors, people who really followed us from one idea to another. They contributed their energy, their ideas, often good humor. Humor was often needed here as we experimented through this special edition. And we tried out new ways to drawing artists and their audiences together. We truly missed our audience, this can be said, and we hope we can meet next year, one way or the other. If you have any ideas, you can come back to us. We are happy to discuss how to do this better next year. Tanz im August, our team wrote our mission anew before Christmas last year, and we gave ourselves a bigger mission. And the mission was that we want to make contemporary dance visible in the society and give it the place that it actually deserves. When the crisis came, we realized our mission was still there. Maybe we could not do the performances, but our mission was the thing that pulled us together and gave us a purpose. And this purpose is still there. So we will continue to think how and rethink how to realize this mission, this purpose, during this pandemic, but also beyond it. We were kind of fast-forwarded into a new reality, which has also opened new opportunities, new audiences, new forms, and new concepts. We are positive that we have to keep on using this opportunity to interrogate our practices, make room for new voices, alliances, partnerships, and audiences. What we learned in these 10 years, we will take with us into the future. For the closing, we will leave you with a short slideshow of the last 10 days. It is kind of a homage to all of those people who, with their generosity and courage, made this special edition possible. So, after this, after the slideshow, you are very welcome to come to the party at Discord. It starts at 10:30, so you have time to register, go on the website, download the app, join us there in the virtual dance floor. So see you at the dance floor. And thank you for this year, and hopefully we will see in person next year.